Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, and joining me today is Gayle Barrett, who is our, now newly retitled, I used to say director of admissions, but now you are the
Director of Enrollment Management.
All right, which, is it really reflects a change in American higher education in general, because people are understanding that it's not a complete process to simply get students in the door, have them admitted, get them started in school, and then kind of turn your sights onto other things, but instead to think about how we retain them and help them graduate. And so I'm really excited that you're going to be doing that for the college, because we definitely need to do it. We have almost 3,000 students, a lot of people to be concerned about.
A lot, and all different types of students. Traditional high school age, non-traditional, online learners, on-ground learners. There are a lot of different types of students to be thinking about.
Yeah, part-time students as well. They actually kind of dominate.
Absolutely.
Right. So people should feel free to think about just sort of dipping into college if they're uncertain about whether or not they want to do it or are thinking about a new career. It's perfectly fine to come and take a course or two.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that we pride ourselves at Middlesex is that we really do give our students the individual attention that so many of them need when they're starting back at school. So we really do take the time to meet one-on-one with our students, both from an enrollment standpoint as well as from the advising standpoint, which I think is really the critical piece in getting students started, is to making that connection when they get to school with that person that they trust, that they like, that they believe in, and they will help guide them through that educational path.
So you've done a fair bit of advising yourself, having been pressed into service.
Yes.
So what would you say is the sort of top one or top two things that people have questions about when they're thinking about coming to college?
I think for more of our non-traditional students is, how is college going to fit into my life? Many of them have families, many of them are working either full-time or part-time, and they're concerned about picking a schedule that's going to make the most sense to them, as well as a schedule that will help them be successful. So I think a lot of the time we talk about not just the academic piece, but what's going on outside of the academic world, and helping really marry the two to make sure we have a successful student that initial semester.
And what kinds of resources do we have to support them?
We are very fortunate that we have our Director of Academic Advising, Dan Vines, who's wonderful. And he also recently opened our Academic Advising Center, which is brand new on the campus. And that's really designed as a space for students to know one spot to go to for any type of advising questions that they may have. And there's typically a staff member or a faculty member at that particular advising center at any given point in time during the day to really handle students who may have 15 minutes between a class to come in and ask a question. They have a designated spot they can go to and get the answers that they need.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I thought it would be enlightening in a way to think about college admissions from a 36,000-foot point of view, which is to say way up in a jet, looking down over the campus here in Middletown, and then sort of zoom in on what it's like here at the college. So from the 36,000-foot view, we know that high school graduation rates are declining. So there are fewer and fewer, students who are sort of the traditional group that we might recruit. And we also know that the world of work is constantly changing. So technology especially is really having an impact on the kinds of careers that people would have and the frequency with which they change their careers. So as somebody who is thinking about recruiting students to a college where everybody is as diverse as the collection of people who might be on any city bus at any given time, how do you even begin?
It's challenging. It's certainly challenging because we're not just talking about one group of students that we're focusing on. So we really do have to take a different approach to how we recruit. Typically, back when I first started in this field 15 years ago, the place you recruited was a college fair and a high school visit. And that day is changing. So we need to think about different approaches and meeting students where they're at today. Whether it's at the job site while they're at work, so they're not taking time out to have to come to the college and get the information. Whether it's a public session in a library where people are going to meet in the evening, or an online chat. So we have to think about creative solutions for today's students because they are typically much busier than they were and have more in their lives than we had when we started going to college way back in the day.
Back when we had lots of leisure time. So, well, we have to take a break. When we come back, let's talk some more about how we reach students and talk to them about why it's so important to go to college. So we'll be right back. Well, we're back to the Middlesex Moments radio show and Gayle Barrett and this giant question about college admissions and, why people want to go to college in the first place, and is college necessary, and can you have too much college? I mean, all these giant questions. But to drill it down into the Middlesex Community College world, where we certainly want to make sure that anybody who wants to go to college knows that we're here, that we're available, and what we can offer. You were talking about ways to reach them. Mm-hmm. So what about the chat? Tell me about the chat. What does that mean?
Sure. I mean, essentially, it's a time online where we can be available to answer any type of questions that are coming up for students. A question regarding perhaps a class. Maybe a student has a question about, how does this application work? Can I do it online? When do I get advised? And have someone available. So again, it's more remote advising and remote conversations.
And are you doing that?
Oh, that's one area we're actually going to be getting into, we're hoping. Uh-huh. We're moving towards that and more of the social media presence as far as from an enrollment management standpoint. I've done chats in previous lives, and they've proved very successful because students can't always take time out of their job, because oftentimes when they're working, so are we. And you can't always get to campus to ask that question, or you can't always get to the phone. So perhaps a chat's a good way to really reach students in a different way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Are you also using texts?
We are using texts as well. Texts are kind of a new technology for our college, but just little short blasts of information to kind of put Middlesex in the mindset of students. As they're throughout their day, here's a little thing. Oh, Middlesex is saying, don't forget about registering for classes. That's the reminder to get started in the process. So we're trying different technology avenues to reach students.
So we've got multiple ways to reach students. Mm-hmm. We have multiple kinds of courses. Some of them are half and half, mm-hmm. or 1/3 and 2/3 online and on the ground, mm-hmm. in the classroom. So and we also have semesters that start late. So
yes.
with lots of variety.
Lots of variety.
So tell us about the late start classes.
Sure. The late start classes are for students who perhaps know they want to go to college but aren't ready to do this right at this moment. Late start classes give students the opportunity to really ease into the semester by starting later. That's the name. So for example, we are starting late semesters February 21st this year. So what it does mean is that there are less class meetings because it's a late start, but the classes meet for a longer period of time. It's a nice way for a student who is ready to go but not ready to go today for classes. And it also helps students not miss a whole semester of coursework because they can get started later and still have the same college credits earned at the end of the semester as someone who was started in January.
So also in theory, if a student came in and registered for a bunch of courses and then decided that one or two of those courses weren't the right ones, they want to drop them, but it's really kind of too late to get into another class.
Right.
That had started at the very beginning of the
mm-hmm.
semester, then it's a fail-safe.
It's a fail-safe because it gives students the opportunity to perhaps maintain that full-time status they were looking to do, but also making sure they're maintaining it with the classes they want to be pursuing.
So a semester is 15 weeks long?
Roughly, yes.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Approximately, give or take.
Yeah.
And one of the ideas that we'll be launching for next year is something that is help me understand it. It's a very quick way to get through college. So these are shorter periods of time
yes.
that we would call terms, not semesters.
Correct.
And a student would do how many in a regular 15-week semester?
Sure. We're talking about the Accelerated Associate's Degree Program, which I believe we're launching for General Studies and Criminal Justice for the upcoming fall. I'm very excited about it personally because I think accelerated classes, a lot of students are looking for this model. Typically, they're about 6 to 7 weeks at a time. And there are 2 courses at a time as well. So it gives students a more intensive look at 2 courses, but it allows them to focus really on 2 courses and focus on them well and get the knowledge they need out of those courses rather than focusing on 4 courses a semester. So it also helps people with different learning styles. Some students like shorter bursts of intensive coursework rather than a 15-week period. So it really caters to different types of students I think we're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit like a summer school experience.
Yes.
Because those tend to be shorter semesters also.
Correct.
Did you ever take a summer school course?
I did. And I also took a winter session course in grad school. It was the most intense 2.5 weeks of my life. Yes. But I learned, so it was great. But the 6 week, I think, is a much more realistic time period for coursework.
Mm-hmm. So let's switch a little bit to the life of a student, the college student life, the experience. So one of the things I know about you, and I think everybody on the campus does, is that you're involved in community theater.
I am.
So did you start doing that in high school, or when did you get launched onto that side of your life?
I was 7, believe it or not. I was really young.
Star.
I was a child star, as my mother would say. I don't know. I was the youngest, and I guess maybe I wanted the attention more, so I found theater by accident, and I found it in elementary school, and it was just a really great creative outlet for me. I call myself an extroverted introvert, so it's a good opportunity for me to get more comfortable being out in the spotlight. I find it fun and relaxing and enjoyable, so I've done that really my entire life.
Do you act?
I do.
What's the most recent thing you've acted?
Most recent thing, I did a dinner theater for Castle Craig Players in Meriden. And prior to that, I've done some work with Little Theatre of Manchester, Castle Craig, Cheshire Community Theatre. I minored in theatre in college.
Oh, really?
So I've done kind of the plays you know very well and the plays you've never heard of, and kind of everything in between.
I've always been curious about how you memorize lines. What's your process?
I record them. I'm an auditory learner, so I have to tape record my lines exactly how I would say them in a production, and then I have to listen to them over and over again, and that really cements it for me.
And do you find that you forget your lines and that's a problem? Or do you what helps you remember your lines?
I think it's just the repetition.
It's just the repetition? John Basinger, who is, he lives locally, and he did the production of Lear here for Art Farm a couple summers ago. He was going to be doing King Lear with a group of players. They were going to do the play, and everybody dropped out except him. And he had memorized all the lines. So he did King Lear only by saying Lear's lines. And it was the most amazing production I've ever witnessed.
It was very impressive, right?
And it was incredible. But the thing, there were so many things to think about in what he was able to do. But one was that he had no cues. Nobody said to him, "How are you this morning?" To which he would remember, I would say, "I feel great this morning."
Right.
He just went from one of King Lear's lines to the next.
That I don't know if I could do that. That's impressive. The cue lines are so important, and what I really love about community theater is that you're all in it together. So if someone is struggling, the other actors figure it out fairly quickly and will get you through the moment. So I think it's happened to all of us. Mm-hmm. So, but everyone is so comfortable and so used to something happening. Mm-hmm. It never goes the same way twice. So you have to really be ready for things not happening as you planned and be able to be flexible enough to roll with what's going to happen, because you're on stage and you have the choice, so you have to do it that way.
Right. Sounds actually a lot like real life.
A lot like real life.
Yeah.
You have to prepared for plan B, as my father would say. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a sense of sadness when the run is over?
I do. It's always that little moment of withdrawal, because you're so used to having this group of people you've really been living with so closely for 2 months out of your life, and all of a sudden you're not seeing them 3 times a week or every day. It's a huge adjustment. Mm-hmm. But I will say, as an adult, I have met the majority of my closest friends through my connections with theater.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, all right. So I'm going to bounce back to what is a college student experience all about.
Absolutely.
And it seems to me there's a lesson there, right?
Yes.
Which is get involved in activities.
Get involved. It's so huge. I can say from my own experience as a freshman, it's very intimidating, because you're in a new spot, you don't know a lot of people, your classes are an adjustment. Getting connected on campus is so critical, both from a social standpoint as well as an academic standpoint. Socially, because you feel more grounded, you feel like people who are with you know what they know what you're going through, because they're going through it themselves, and it's a built-in support group for you right there. So I think the connections are critical as a new student in college. From an academic standpoint, it's also helpful to connect with your advisor as soon as you can, because your advisor is typically someone in your degree program, and they are really there to guide you through that degree to make sure you are on track to graduate. Whether your goal is to do this as a full-time student in 2 years or a part-time student at your own pace, they are there to help track your progress. So making connections is huge in order to be successful as a student.
Well, I can't leave this topic without mentioning and then asking you about it, that you got involved in creating a theater group here on campus.
Yes. Janet Klink asked me to co-advise with her in the theater club. And I was happy to do it because that's one of my passions, and I haven't done a lot of theater myself in the last year or two. So it's nice to work with students who I see myself in a bit, because I was that student who was so excited and so passionate about theater, and it's really fun being on the other end to kind of share my experiences and to help them with this club that was revitalized after so many years of not being here. And I think theater is really needed.
And there's actually a lot of it in Connecticut.
There's a lot of it, and I think theater has a responsibility to educate as well as to entertain. Mm-hmm. So theater, I think now more than ever, is so important, and I'm really proud that it's on our campus.
And what are your activities?
We do a lot of improv during the week. Usually once every 2 weeks, our students will get together in the lounge and do improv hours and improv games, and they will draw out a lot of people from campus to join them. They also did, which I was very excited about last year, they produced and performed 3 original works written by members of the club.
That's
which
laudable.
Was amazing.
Yeah.
And they are such talented writers as well as performers. It was a great moment to see it happening.
Yeah.
In more of like a reader's theater environment. We also take trips. We saw Matilda last year. We went to see Wicked this year, which everyone was so excited about, including me. And we're hoping to do a student production this spring.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I don't know what we're doing yet, but that's going to be discussed when they get back in the next couple weeks.
Good. Yeah, and the campus will come back to life.
Yes.
So we got to take a break, then we'll come right back. Well, we're back to the Middlesex Moments radio show. This is our third and final segment. The time is just whirred by like a spinning clock, or the dials of my electric meters, I like to think. And Gayle Barrett is my guest today. She's the Director of Enrollment Management here at Middlesex, and the show is airing on the day before the students come back to school. Mm-hmm. But even though it's 24 hours out to the parking lots being full and the students being all over the campus and on the sidewalks outside and walking to and fro, it's not too late, right? We've already talked a little bit about late start classes, but walk us through the drill of like, I want to go to college. I just figured out some other things. It's going to work for me, but I haven't even started the process. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's a blank slate.
Sure.
What happens?
Sure. This is the first thing I guess I would say is that this is a very common question we get asked. So if this is a scenario that you are in and you're thinking about, don't feel as though you're alone, because this is something we see very much so once we get closer to the start of the semester. The process is fairly simple. The community colleges, our mantra is really open access, so we don't want to create barriers to make it difficult to come to school. The first thing we would do is a very simple application for admission to the college. It can be done either online or downloading it on paper and bringing it in, or even coming in and doing it if that's what you feel more comfortable with. But the application itself is very simple. The only pieces of information we really require for students coming in that are looking to study a particular degree would be things like proof of high school completion, which could be as simple as bringing in a copy of your high school diploma or having your high school send us a final transcript, as long as it has your date of graduation on it. As far as time-wise, probably the quickest thing to do if you're able to access your diploma is to bring that in, because that really saves you time of working with your high school. We also require your immunization records, which are things like the chicken pox and all those things you got shots for when you were younger. So these are, again, things you already have. It's just a matter of collecting it and bringing it into the college.
Where would you find those? I have no idea where I would find mine.
Your doctor's office would have that on file. If you're not able to get to your doctor's office, you can also go to any type of walk-in clinic and ask them to do what's called a titer test. It's T-I-T-R-E, titer test. Essentially, it's a quick blood test to verify you had those shots when you were younger.
Oh, so that's good to know.
Very simple.
Yeah, because in my case, I've moved here from another state, so it would be really hard. And also I'd have to remember back decades to figure out where I might have been and who might have given me a shot.
Right, so there's always different options of meeting the requirement. So for many adults, when I went back to school myself, that's what I had to do, because I couldn't find my records. So I had to get the test, and it was very easy.
And you can do that at a walk-in clinic?
Walk-in clinic, or your current doctor now can do that for you. Many people find the walk-in clinics typically faster. Because you don't need an appointment, that's the name, so it's a little easier to do.
And do they have to send it away to a lab? I'm just wondering, are there days that elapse?
It may take a couple days to do, because they do have to send it out to test.
But is this an impediment? So can you actually start school if you don't have those records?
You can. We typically give students a little bit of a grace period to get those items into us.
Okay, so and then what about, well, there's so many questions. So what about financial aid if you need help of paying for college?
Financial aid, yeah. Financial aid is something that you do typically want to do sooner rather than later in the process. Unfortunately, the longer you wait to apply for financial aid, sometimes the longer it may take to get processed because it has to go through the federal government first and then it gets sent to the college. So at this time of the year, if you have not applied for financial aid, you can certainly still do so. But my guess is that it would not be ready for you at the start of the semester, just by virtue of the time period. If you're talking about late start, perhaps, yes, it would be, but most likely not if you're starting or planning on starting on the 19th.
Is there anything else that I would need to do?
And those are the main items as far as admissions. It really depends what type of student you are.
Let me ask you about, I'm a transfer student.
Sure.
So I've done more than just my high school.
If you're a transfer student, we would just ask that you at least have a copy of what we call unofficial transcripts. And unofficial is typically something you can print off online from your college and their database. And that way the advisor that you're working with has an idea of your prior coursework. So we're using that really as our guiding factor in courses taking at the college. If you're looking to transfer those courses in, you would need to contact the records office of that other college to get them sent directly. But we can certainly use a copy that you're bringing in on your own for advising initially.
And is there a sense, can you give me a sense of what does transfer in?
Sure, I mean,
most liberal arts courses?
Most liberal arts. I mean, if you're transferring from one of the other community colleges, it's very, very simple. Community colleges have what we call common course numbering. And essentially what that means is if you took English Comp at another community college in the state, it's equivalent to any of the 12 community colleges. It's treated as the same course. And it would transfer in very, very easily. Transfer courses such as English, math, history, psychology, more of your general education courses would typically transfer in. It just depends on the program you're looking at. So for example, if you've taken a lot of accounting courses and you're looking to transfer into a human services program, you've earned these credits, but they may or may not fit into the program because it is so different than your initial coursework.
Mm-hmm. And somebody will help you figure that out.
Absolutely.
So if an ordinary associate's degree is 60 credits and an ordinary course is 3, that's 20 courses you've got to take.
Correct.
So you could have 5 or 10 or 15 courses that would transfer in.
Absolutely. I mean, we have what we call residency requirement, which essentially means there's a certain number of credits that you must earn at Middlesex to earn your degree, and that's 25% of the total credits of the degree.
So the last year or so. And currently, I mean, a full-time student for financial aid purposes is taking 4 courses. But because of the way that the system here in Connecticut has banded tuition, what that means is if you take 4 courses, you can take up to, it's really 5 more credits. But it's easy to think about it. You could take 1 more course and not have to pay tuition for it. So and if you take 5 courses that are 15 credits, then you can reasonably think you'll get through a 2-year college in 2 years.
Absolutely.
Or if you don't always do that, you can take summer courses or courses during the winter session. And some financial aid is available for at least for winter session.
Yes.
The way that we work it here. And we have an office of financial aid, and they will help as well. So then there's advising, then there's orientation. Mm-hmm. Are you pro or con orientation?
I am pro orientation because, again, I really believe that it helps you get connected sooner to the campus. Orientation is great because you get to meet the people who you'd be seeing for various things, whether it's the dean of students talking about getting involved on campus, or it's Judy Mescal who's talking about leadership. It's a great way to get to know a lot of people on campus, and more importantly, where things are on campus. Sometimes students don't know where their advisor's office is, or where the pavilion is, because they didn't go to orientation. They don't know things, but it includes a tour of campus, so you get to really visually see things. So it's very important. I'm absolutely pro orientation.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's like learning the ropes,
Yes.
And once you've got those figured out, then you can start to bridge out and build your network of people in your classes, people you might meet in clubs, but because the clubs are always looking for new members.
Yes.
And those clubs give students a chance to take on leadership roles.
Absolutely.
So I imagine you could see that in the theater club
we
too.
do. Yeah, we have students. We have a president and I think a co-vice president this year, because we had a lot of students who really wanted to do that leadership piece. And I think that's part of our responsibility as clubs, is to really foster that. So it's exciting to see so many students want to lead and want to learn how to lead.
Yeah, and how to work with a group of people in a way that builds harmony.
Yes.
And then those are complicated skills to acquire.
It's tricky at any age. It's really nice to see students wanting to really learn that here, where it's a safe environment to learn it.
So I'm going to keep bouncing back because school's starting tomorrow based on when this program's going to air.
Right.
So the Admissions and Records Office, that's a registrar's office, you're open late.
We are open late. We are open late until 6 o'clock on the 18th and 19th. We're also, which is a Wednesday and Thursday. We are also open until 6 o'clock on the following Monday and Tuesday, which is the 23rd and 24th of January.
So lots of availability after the ordinary work hours.
Yes.
Because I'm pro a lot of things. Okay, so another thing I'm pro is public transportation.
Yes.
So the bus comes here, not only the Middletown bus line, but also Ninetown Transit.
Right.
So people can get off work, get on the bus, and get off at the bus stop here in Middletown, which is really great. And then, of course, there are options to take courses in Meriden.
Yes.
And those courses meet during the day, but also in the evenings on Mondays and Wednesdays, and there are a couple of Saturday classes as well. So lots of options for attending Middlesex. So let's talk about, what's the point of all of this? I mean, the point is certainly to become an educated citizen, but to learn some skills that are useful in the workplace and to learn these social skills that come from a variety of activities. So in that regard, we have a career planning office and counselors who help with what's next question.
Right. It's a big question, and they have a lot of services they do, such as resume writing, mock interviews, career assessments to really help answer that question.
Mm-hmm. And then people come on campus to recruit, including four-year institutions recruiting students. Well, now we can observe once again that the half hour goes by in the blink of an eye. And I want to thank you, Gayle Barrett, for being here today on Middlesex Moments radio show, and encourage anybody in the listening audience who's interested in going to school yourself or know somebody that maybe you think would be just really ready in their lives to embark upon a college education, to check us out at mxcc.edu or come over to the campus and walk into the admissions office, which is located in Founders Hall, and see if you can find what it is that you're looking for in terms of college. So thanks for listening to us today, and check back to hear our next show next Wednesday. We'll be happy to have you in the audience again. This is Anna Wessesha saying thank you and have a very good day.